Welcome to the Concert Queen Connects. Really excited today to introduce you to the one and only Emily the Funk. Emily, say hi.
Hi.
So this is Emily. So happy to have her here. She is so special, y'all. She's been probably, and I haven't told her all this. I think I've maybe like written in a caption, but she is the number one, probably biggest influencer in my life, and someone that I've admired and been following for years, and someone that I started watching, and her love of music and festivals and dressing up and just being so expressive. And that was even before I was doing any of that. So I could go on and on about all the things, but I would say that she was, and I can confidently say this, she was an influencer before that was even a term. And when people say influence, she did it from a place of genuine authenticity. I've followed her throughout all the years of, love and heartbreak and, just different things coming and going in her life. And she's been very, very open about all those things. And so very excited to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining this. I'm just...
You're going to make me cry.
It's my like fangirl moment, because it was just, meeting you at Coachella. Was that like 2 years ago? That was just like a moment for me, because I was like, wow, this is someone that, people look at celebrities and look at all those things, but in this particular space, since we were just talking about earlier with like Instagram, that was, I started following her when like the filters were like Juno, like that's when you picked which filter, Juno, Valencia, and so I don't even remember how, maybe it was Explore when all that stuff was going on, but Emily has this insane Instagram page. And I want to talk about like how you curate that, because it's so eclectic. And I think it shows like I was like, how does she have you have content for not even like days, weeks, you have it for like years. So tell us about that. Like all this, I guess how you got your start like with Instagram.
Well, you're amazing. And you are so sweet that you kind of forget when you're posting that you're talking to all these people, because it feels so intimate. And like when I met you at Coachella, we were like in this moment.
Yeah.
We were at the Do Lab. Things are going on.
Goosebumps again, like thinking about. Yeah.
And it was just so special because I was like, she knows me. She's connected with me. And then I started following you, and then I was like in your world. And like we have that connection. So it's like Instagram can be so crazy, so big, so viral. And then at the same time, it can be this intimate experience that connects you with people that like I would never have met you without it.
Right.
I mean, I got it in 2011. I think when it was like the ugly blue bar at the top and literally all the filters and Valencia and XX, all those things. And I just remember, I think you can go all the way back on my Instagram with like 3,000 posts, and it's like me posting about like my bong and like, I kept it up. And I was like, this has to be here for, people need to see where I came from.
I need to do like I need to go like a deep dive.
It'll take forever. It will literally take forever. And the filters are trash. Like the photos are trash. But you can see like my first photo that really went on Instagram. And I remember it.
What was your first photo?
Oh, I'll send it to you so you can like
put it on the side.
It was from Nocturnal 2012. And it was me and 2 of my girlfriends, and we all wore matching outfits. We had like the big stacks on. My hair was super long, the studded bras. I would never anymore. I can't wear that. I need to be comfortable. Like I can't do that. But I came to put on a show that day. I was like, let's show up. And I just remember this photo of 3 of us just went off. And it was like 2012, before the algorithm was hiding people from you, before it was this complicated game where you had to pay for promotion and ads and stuff. So it connected me with so many people then. And that's when it really just started to go. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, I like to dress up. I like to rave. I like to post photos and connect with people. I was like, all these things can be together.
Yeah. So you've gone like throughout all the years of, I remember seeing just the evolvement of when I saw you, you were like, it was the Burning Man pictures. And I know that's like a very special festival for you too. So out of all this, and you've done Ship, she's done them all, y'all. I mean, I feel like when it comes, y'all think I go to a lot of concerts and festivals, like she has been doing it for years. And so you're based in, we were talking about that, like in Sherman Oaks, which is outside of LA. And that's like the Mecca of where all that stuff is, I'm sure. Like I already know, I was like, if I ever was to go out there, I think I'd be in trouble because there's so like,
you'd be fine.
There's so much going on though. I'd be like overwhelmed. But how is it there? Like, is that kind of what your passion for music, or how did that all get started?
I actually went to my first rave in 2008 and I was like 15 and my parents didn't know.
That's amazing.
I was at a crazy time in my life. Bless them for putting up with me and pulling me through. But I just was like, I'm going to go to this rave. Love Fest 2008. And I just remember wearing the most trash outfit. She had no clue. Me had no clue. She was like, she's wearing pink ruffle shorts. She's got a cheetah bandeau on. Her hair is in a high ponytail. She doesn't have a spot of makeup on her. She's showing up. I probably look like I'd just been born. Like I look so young. I'm rolling up with my friend. We have binkies.
Oh, binkies? Oh, I remember the binky phase when everyone had those. Binkies.
Candy. Like I was like, I had one piece of candy. I remember being like, yeah, I got this piece. Rolling in. And it was, I mean, before everything had happened in 2008, you could go at 15. Like they weren't checking ID. They just were like, you are dressed like you could be here. You're here. And I just will never forget. It was like all Exposition Park. So all the sides of the Coliseum, not the actual Coliseum. Yeah. It was so cool. And Dirty South is playing. And I'll just never forget.
Love Dirty South.
Being like, me too. A little too lit. Had no clue who it was. And he dropped Day and Night, the Kid Cudi remix. And that was the first time I'd ever heard it. I had never even heard the original song. I like didn't know Kid Cudi. And I was just like, this is it for me. This is literally it. I need more of this place. I need more of these people. I've never felt so free.
Wow.
It was over.
Wow.
And the addiction began.
So then how did you're just going to all these different festivals and then like connecting to people. So like just growing throughout the years, like you said, is that something that you ever felt like a burnout from? Cause I know for me, like that's where, like you said, you're describing like how that like gives you life. And for me, that was the same kind of thing. Like people were like, whoa, how do you do that every weekend? I'm like, that is my escape. That is what fuels me. But what is that for you? Is it the same? Is it doing that, or is there something else? It's
the ability to connect with people in that environment. I feel like it pulls away the layers automatically when you enter a rave. You're excited to see a friend. You're excited to see music, and people are automatically more vulnerable. For me, I remember when I went to that first rave, I went back to high school and everyone was like, you're going to get AIDS. You're going to do, because that was the stigma at that time. You're going to get poked with a needle. And I already had like 2 friends in high school. So I was like, y'all aren't my people anyways. So I found a community in there. So being able to go, and I mean, like you, I was going before COVID, at least a show every weekend, like a festival every month. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you get tired? No, like it fuels me. Seeing the people making connections. I mean, there's people who've been following me for years that I'll run into at some random show. And then they're like, I've been following you for 7 years, and I'm just like, thanks for being here. Cause I know at one point or another, we've connected on there, we've talked, we've messaged, and it really fills me up. I have to do something in my life that is circled around people and connecting with people.
I totally
get it.
Right
now it's raving.
Yeah. And that's literally, like I said, when I saw you, and it was just everything that, like I said, the embodiment of like what people who are in this space should be doing. And I feel like there's so many like posers and fake people that are trying to do it for attention, but like you always did it. You would respond to comments, and that was even before like stories. Like you would just post photos and, talking to people in captions and just these really heartfelt messages, So, and I know that's tough too. Like, how are you able to be like, where does that come from? I know you said connecting, but being so vulnerable, because I mean, homegirl's been through some shit too, like some things that we'll get into, but like, that's a vulnerability that a lot of people, they want everybody to see the kind of just the highlights and the highlight reel on Instagram. But I feel like you've been very open about like, how did you make that decision to kind of share those things about your life?
You're so sweet for saying. I think at a point when I realized Instagram was going one of 2 ways, it was like the self-promotion, I'm wearing this, I'm wearing that, which is so fine. And I want, you do you, boo boo. And I was like, that doesn't feel authentic to me. And I always was a kid who very emotional, very empathetic, needing these feelings were bubbling out constantly. And to have a platform where I can share that, I mean, Instagram just became that for me. And then when I realized that people not only were reading it, vibing with it, connecting with it. But people were then reaching out to me and being like, thank you so much for saying this, or this resonated with me. And I was like, there's a huge hole in social media of where it's going versus where it could be going.
Mm-hmm.
And this was before like this whole mental health
Totally.
thing. And I just felt like there was a gap. And I was like, well, I feel comfortable enough to share all of this. I want people to know that this isn't just the like whole, like, oh, everything's great. You know, look at my butt. Like, it's not that. It's that, but it's more. It's
right.
like, look at my butt, but I have a lot of feelings. Like, it's both. It's fine.
Oh, it's great. But that's exactly right. Because I think, you know, and that's another thing too with, you know, people, even with like relationships and friendships, and you see, you know, people are very like, I'm pretty private about that kind of stuff. I'm also not dating, but it's just one of those things like you put yourself out there and you just never know. And it just to have that at such an early age too, where you're like, nope, don't care what other people think. Like I'm going to basically fall on the sword or lead the charge for people to have that expression. Cause there's been times too where I'm like, damn, like she really, I mean, I'll sit there and homegirl will write like novels sometimes, or maybe it's like a cute little one-liner. I mean, it's like a straight up blog on there, but it's something that was so captivating. There's not a lot of people write novels now and I'm like, keep going. But it's like when she writes something, you're like, okay, she's got something to say. And so like, I remember too, we talked about this, just like having a boyfriend on there and you were very open about that when that was going away that you didn't want it to.
Oh, that I felt, and maybe this was a good thing and maybe this was a bad thing, but I felt like I owed my audience at least, like they had been with me on the journey. The rise of, I mean, and many boyfriends. We highlighted many. Not, like, and I laugh because I'm like, you know, y'all have been with me through some shit. Like when I've dated this guy, and I put those feelings out there. And then when things ended, sometimes really intensely and tragically, I was like, I'm struggling. I want you to know that like, I'm not okay. I want you to know that like, this did affect me, because I feel like we're so conditioned to just keep it moving. Come on now, on to the next thing, pick it up. Like, don't let that smile fall, all of that. That's exhausting.
Yeah.
And those emotions are real. And if they're not going out, they're getting shelved and then they're going to erupt in some other way. And I used Instagram as my sounding board. I used it to connect with people. I used it as, for a bit, it felt like therapy because I could release all of that. And then I would feel lighter.
That's awesome. So yeah, because I remember seeing that, and like you said, just different relationships, but that's just something that even, and I know your heart was your pup, you know, and following, like, just like y'all know, like Leon's like a huge part of my life, like by my side all the time. He's in another room because he can't sit still, but you know, animals too are a huge part of your life. So tell us about like just that kind of journey. I know you have Frida now, and are you just with rescues?
No licking. She's like right here. She's like licking her paws. I'm like, don't look at me, little girl.
This dog voice.
She'll only respond to that. Frida is like, so, I mean, she's turning 11 this year. She's old. She only responds to that. But I've always loved animals, but I grew up with fish and birds. So I didn't, we still have, like, my parents still have the birds. They're old now.
Oh, wow.
But I've always loved animals. And I had started a corporate job that same month that I got Frankie from the shelter. And that it was corporate event planning, you know, went to an office, wore the suits, did the whole thing. Does not fit my vibe. Was not my vibe. I cannot be pushed into a desk, but I didn't realize how much my love for animals would keep me soothed and calm through that entire ordeal working there, because Frankie really pulled me through. I mean, I'd come home from a 14-hour workday, 3 people putting on way too many events, like overworked, underpaid, and she was there. And she was there looking at me, happy to see me. Best part of her day, best part of my day.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And then to just see how everyone also online was connecting with her. Oh my God, Frankie. Oh, she's so beautiful. I mean, at one point when she had an Instagram, her Instagram had more followers than me. The best engagement I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh.
It was unbelievable. That girl, it was, you know, my ex and I had put that page together for her and it went off. and people loved her. And like we hosted dog meetups. It was so cool.
Oh, really?
And then, it was great times in my life. Very, very special. And just having that dog and having that connection, never had that before. And I went to the shelter to find her, and I want the old dogs. I want the dogs no one wants. I want the ones that people are kind of nervous about. And I saw like 15 dogs.
Wow.
And my heart's like breaking for every single one. Because I'm like, I want to take them all. I'm having a hard time. Like, and they bring out this little girl, and she's like super timid, very thin, so cute. She's got like a crazy rash on her belly. And I'm like, okay, she's looking cute. She's looking rough, but I think I like her. And then some lady was like peering over the fence. Oh, I really like her too. Well, she's mine. So thank you.
You're like, done.
Guess what? It's mine. So I literally, they were like, all right, she needs her shots. You know, it'll probably be a week or two. They called me the next day. She's ready for pickup. I'm like, okay. So I come down. I've never transported a dog before. And I put her in my car. She's like shaking.
Oh.
Like crazy. Because she's so scared and she was so timid. And I think she didn't know where she was going. She's like, the last time she was in a car, they were dropping her off at the shelter, like super triggering for her. And as soon as we got to my place and I got her out and we got upstairs, she like had this moment where she just laid in front of me and like looked at me in the mirror. I was like, oh, this must be what it feels like to give birth to a child. like, okay, you're home now. And it just grew, and I had her for 2.5 years, best 2 years ever. And then it's like, then she gets sick. And she had like, it was crazy because it happened so fast. You know, I felt something in her throat, called the vet. We take her in to go get, checked out. I have my tissue. I'm ready.
I'm sorry.
and I'm like, okay, maybe she's sick, whatever. Called me 2 days later and they're like, okay, so here's the deal. She has cancer and she has lymphoma. It's very advanced. I'm going to hand your information off to, I forgot the name of the doctor right now, an oncologist, and we'll pick it up from there. I'm like, okay, here we go. Meanwhile, all this is going on. I'm going through the gnarliest breakup I've ever been through in my life, where we essentially took care of this dog together. Oh. And I had taken her because she was mine. And he was very upset about that. So he may or may not have deleted her 40,000 follower Instagram, and did that on the day that I took her the very first visit to the oncologist. So I'm sitting in the waiting room. Come here, Frida. Sitting in the waiting room, waiting to go in, trying to log in, going to make a post, to let everyone know, because I was talking to people in Australia about Frankie, all over the world, like connecting with her over a dog. Yeah. Like I love the internet, and gone. So I'm like, okay, let's task at hand. So
oh my God, I didn't know that.
Long story short, it was fucked up. I
had no idea.
Because that's a dog. It's an innocent, and I never talked about it because it's like at the time, it's like I'm not trying to give that any energy. Yeah. He doing his thing in a big way, feeling like he's got to make some whatever, dude, do you? But I'm like, that's an innocent dog. But it's fine because it turns out we didn't even need that page because there were so many people that were so deeply connected to her, having never even met her. It's crazy because I didn't reflect on it, when she passed, because it was a lot of emotions. But the 6 months that we did the GoFundMe, we raised like $12,000. $12,000.
Yep. I remember I donated.
I know. And thank you so much.
In general, I remember it was.
People were sharing it. People were committed. People were like deeply, don't lick your butt, please, Frida. Thank you. She's like, I'm like having a moment. She's, all right, girl.
That's what she does. She's like, Mom, don't cry. I'll do.
Yeah, literally. She's like, I'm going to, but I will be forever grateful for connecting with all of, you and everyone else on Instagram, because when I was losing my shit, completely unhinged, on my stories almost daily, crying, there was nothing but love from people who were like, you know what, we have her in our thoughts, we're doing Reiki, we're doing this, people are sending her CBD and donating to the GoFundMe and sharing it. It bought her extra time. it bought me extra time to like get there in my head that like, this is what we're doing. This is only a Band-Aid. This isn't a fix, you know, there will be an end to this, but it's, I love her.
I'm emotional now.
It bought me time to like get my mind right and realize that I'm never going to stop rescuing dogs. I'm never going to stop rescuing senior dogs specifically. And then it was crazy because I found Frida online, Susie's Senior Dogs, about 3 weeks after Frankie had passed. And I was like, it's too soon. It's too soon. But I kept going back and looking at her. And I was like, you know what? I don't think it's too soon. Like, I think that Frankie, you know, we had an understanding that the day that she was tired and didn't want to do it anymore, she was going to let me know. So she did. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful. We went in. I had two of my friends come with me, Maddie and Waylon, with my mom, and they were very connected to her. And she was ready to go. And I have so much peace with that, knowing like all the work that I did with the chemo and that like my community really stepped up and did for me with the fundraising and the sharing. Like, oh my God, every single day I think about that. And I'm just so grateful that the internet brought this to me. Like, raving in that community brought this to me. Those kinds of people in my life.
That's it's so beautiful. And I think people forget like that is a community, and there's, yes, it's the internet, it's not in person, but I can see how people, like you said, they're invested in you, and you talk to them and you have a friendship. And even though you hadn't met in person, it's like you're able to impact people's lives, and you forget to, like, you're just living your life and you're sharing, but maybe someone is going through something themselves that they don't have the strength to share or to be out there, but they see you and they see your stories or your post or your Instagram, and you bring that light to them. So that, I mean, of course, exponentially, you're going to get back what you put out. And I think that was karma in its best light, because you've given so much and putting yourself out there, but you do it with the sense too of you're putting yourself out there to share your struggles, if it's going to help somebody else, if it's going to connect you. And people always will always, I love that. That's such a beautiful story of people doing that. And I remember that. And I was just like, damn, you know, that was hard to even watch, because you're watching someone in pain that you've never met. And it's like, you know, you have these feelings and you're like, wow, like she's going through it, you know, and we're all creatives and we're doing anything we can to get by. Like, people think too, like, we all have regular jobs. Like, this isn't I mean, I wish I did this full time. I'm sure you wish you were able to go do all the other things and go to raves and do these things full time. But like, we all have other jobs that we're doing to fuel this passion. And it's like when people invest in you, or they take the time to just, you know, we're creating all these things for people. So
yeah,
that's amazing. And then just to even, like, I have Leon, and Leon was my pup that you met earlier, and he's his own little character. But you're right, people will like, and it's gotten to the point now where he's just part of my day. And I'm like, you know what? He's my dog. Like, we're also in a very unique time in the world right now too, where people were used to constantly seeing me out and about. And it's like, I'm not out and about right now. I'm literally like hanging out with my dog, or he's next to me, and there are companions over anybody. And I'm sure, like, same Frida, she's right there next to you, licking her butt.
Looking at me like I need to do something for her. I said, girl, you've had your fill of everything today. She's so funny. That's literally my girl. And like, Frankie was my girl.
Yeah.
And anyone who doesn't know that type of connection, oh my God, go adopt a dog.
You're totally right. I remember I got Leon almost 3 years ago, but I got him, but I was feeling empty. I was like, okay, cool. Yeah. Like, there's gotta be more to this. And it was like, the kids thing is like a whole other thing, you know, like, yeah, but
good on you for getting a baby and birthing that baby. I'm like, I like a fur baby.
A fur baby's wonderful, but I see how people see how like I spoil him, do everything for him, and just like he didn't bark for 6 months. Like, he's my heart, so I know. But yeah, our love for animals, definitely share that. There's a lot of people, if you don't have an animal ask either of us, we will gladly help like walk you through that process, because adopt,
God.
don't shop, please.
Please.
The pets.
Oh, there's so many. And if you don't want a puppy, get an older dog, because guess what? They'll sleep all day.
Just get them out of, get them off the streets.
Oh, it's the best ever. There's so many.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I could go on and on and on.
I know.
About.
So could I. So we'll table that, but let's get to like the fun stuff with all of your festivals and everything that you've done. So Burning Man, is that safe to say that's probably your favorite festival out of all of them? Or do you have another one?
So yes. And it's hard because I'm like, do I even consider Burning Man a festival?
Oh, okay. Tell us about that.
You know, yes, it has
it's an experience
of a festival.
Okay.
You know, you see music, you do this, but the thing about Burning Man, it's like you're not, and I've said this on like when I do my crazy live streams for prep, I'm like, you're not buying a ticket to see a show that someone that a company put on. You know, you're buying a ticket to show up and participate in a community for a week.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that you're seeing, experiencing, and doing is literally brought to you by another burner, another person. So it's not this big, you know, Insomniac-esque thing.
Right.
You're literally like you're buying the ticket to be a part of the show, essentially.
So how did you get your first Burning Man? How did you find out about? How did you get dialed in to that scene?
It's so funny. My first burn was a shit show, and like knowing me now and how like methodical I am with every planning bit of it, you would never. But so I used to be a camp counselor. I went to this camp as a kid, changed my life, continued to go to this camp, was a counselor, then a director of a unit. But I met someone who was my counselor, and he goes, I know you're into all these raves and shit, and I know you like EDC, but let me tell you what you'll like even more, Burning Man. And I was like, I won't like anything more than EDC. EDC is my Lord and Savior. No way. Like this is my life. Plur vibe. And he's like, no. So I was 2 weeks before the burn in 2014, and my best friend at the time, Kirsty, I was like, let's go to Burning Man. And she's like, what, girl? No. And I'm like, we're going to Burning Man.
So what did you think about it? Like, what did you know about Burning Man before?
So I was lucky to have James walking me kind of through, like, he gave me a list. This is what you'll need. And I'm like looking at this list. I'm like, goggles, a tent, what? Food that doesn't have to be refrigerated? What? Like, and I like don't camp. Yeah. So 2014, I had like barely camped. And Burning Man is like, there's no showers. You're camping in the dust. I didn't have an RV the first 2 years. So I was like in a tent. So I didn't know. And I think that was the coolest part, because I had an idea. It's this crazy thing in the desert, but I didn't know. And so I told Kirsty, we're going to Burning Man. We didn't have tickets. So for 2 weeks straight, we were looking for tickets. Eventually it came a little close weekend before. And we're like, we got to start driving. So we start driving with no tickets.
Oh my goodness.
San Francisco. And we stayed with my friend Des, and Kirsty and I are like at the coffee shop, like on Craigslist, like looking for tickets. And it was before Burning Man really like became this tickets, or like, so people were selling tickets. So I'm like, shit, we got to find tickets. You know, we found one ticket, then they were selling 2 tickets. So we had to buy 2 tickets. You know, my friend Dima found 2. We were like pulling all of our resources.
Wow.
We had 2 tickets. We were like, we sold the 3rd, left it at the gate for some girl. It's like that. You can like, this ticket is for this person.
Oh
like,
God.
It's literally,
yeah.
It feels like a
Burning Man will call. It's just like,
yeah, Burning Man will call. It's like a little hut. The line's all crazy. I
bet.
You need to go. We're going to get you there. You're going to love it. But we went, and it was just, there are things in my mind burned forever, just images of that burn. And the highs and the lows and the art. And I mean, it's like, I think 14,000 acres. You'll never see all of it. The amount of art that is stationary, 300, 400 plus pieces, big, small, 2 feet, 60 feet, like it changes every year. Then you count all of the mutant vehicles, moving art. It's literally a wormhole that I just fall into. And every time I start thinking about it, I get really excited. I was going to bring my mom.
Oh, really?
Yep. She was going to come. And that was going to be interesting, but she's always been down with the rave. And I mean, she was making my outfits and skirts, and she'd secretly make them longer behind my back. And then I would get to EDC and
start
I'm like,
rolling them up.
Mom, why am I wearing a full long length skirt?
Oh, that's amazing. So your first one, you went, and like, what was some of the biggest, like, for someone that's never been and their first experience of like, what was one of the biggest like takeaways you had from the very first one that you went to that got you like hooked to keep going?
I think it was just the overall friendliness of every single person. You know, it felt like raves in 2008. It felt, because at that point, 2014, we were getting very much into the Instagram algorithm, like I have this many followers vibe, and raving felt like a photo shoot. And I love a good photo shoot, but it's not all about that, you know, and I miss the true connection of walking into a crowd and you know you're going to connect with someone over the music, over this, over that. And raving has kind of moved away from that because you get bad apples that give, you know, things happen at raves. You have to like stay to your group now, kind of.
Yeah.
It's very different. And Burning Man was just, oh, you want to walk over to that art installation that's, you know, 35 feet tall. The artist is going to be there and he's going to want to talk to you about what he built. Or, you know, Kirsty and I had like only packaged food. And so our camp neighbors were like, come, we're cooking, like, come eat. You know, strangers, like, and we're sitting around a table, suddenly eating dinner together, having a conversation about, you know, what brought them to Burning Man. The people that we stayed with our first year, everyone was at least like 50 in that camp. It was the coolest thing ever because they were like, here's what you need. Here's what you should do. Here's where you should go. Make sure you see this. I really wish I did this in my first year. And
wow,
the connection is everywhere. And there's no need to feel anxious or nervous about that connection at Burning Man because yes, there's bad apples everywhere. There's going to be people who aren't getting it. But for the most part, every person you run into is there to burn and experience the burn in full. And that includes being kind to strangers and just little things that we don't get any part of in the default world, as they call it.
Yeah. Wow. That's something that, for me, it's been like I don't like to be dirty, but I want to go now.
It's not dirty.
But I was just thinking, I just see all the dust. This was I have a different view on it now, but before, because people tried to get me to go in the past, I'm like, the whole idea of just being covered in dust just really freaked me out. But then as I've heard more about it, and even now though too, it's like I would go for the connection, and I wonder if that part sounds like it's not lost, but I just see now, like you see the girls that like different. And that's another thing too, is like you were taking photos with these installations, but in a very artistic way, in a beautiful way. And the photography and the things that you were getting were things that people are now doing, but they weren't doing that back then. You know, I feel like you were kind of a pioneer of like the Burning Man girls.
And a lot of people have an issue with kind of like the changing of the guard of Burning Man and how it's evolving and how it's growing. And I don't feel that way. I mean, everyone burns differently. Who am I to say that someone taking, you know, that photo, wearing that outfit, I don't know their story, but I do know that they made it to Burning Man. And I do know that they can understand the magnitude of where they are and the beauty of this place. So it's, you know, I feel like I used to have a very kind of jaded look on like, oh, that's not the way you should burn. And like, that is not at all the way like I would ever want someone to give me that kind of energy. It's crazy.
Totally
because
makes sense.
You see all these influencers, models, you know, doing this thing. And yes, you know, you're not supposed to represent brands at Burning Man. It is a decommodified space. Like I am kind of like firm on that. Like I do believe it should remain as such. But if someone's out there taking the photo, I'm like, get that photo, get it, and then take one of me because I want that photo. Like it's just another way to connect with someone. And it's crazy who you'll see out there.
Like, tell me about who is someone that you've been like, oh my God, I can't believe that's so-and-so.
I'm like having a moment at Paris Hilton, that robot heart. I'm like, and I just saw her from a distance. Like I wasn't even like, we had friends who met her and were like, she's so sweet. But I'm like seeing her and I'm like, I love that girl. I love her. And she's just doing her thing. Sunglasses on, looking absolutely flawless. It's so special. You'll see Victoria's Secret models there, and you're just like, everyone's just in their element. And it doesn't feel like this, oh my God, that's a celebrity, like, oogle moment. You're kind of just like, we're sharing the same space. We're enjoying the same music. They're here for that music. They're here for that sunrise. They're at that art piece. We both appreciate that art piece. It's kind of like a leveling experience.
Yeah. It's a shared experience that you're having. Wow.
Yeah. With Paris Hilton. Right. Right.
I love her too. I had a whole different view on her once I saw. Did you see her documentary?
Me too.
Oh my God. It will totally, if you love her now, like, you'll love her even more. Like, it just talking about like humanizing her and like what she went through with, you know, going when she was growing up was just wild. That was a curveball I was not expecting, because they show her originally, and it's, yeah, you're kind of like, how do I feel sorry for this initially? Because you don't know what you're watching, you know, and that was before they had like really given like, this is what it's about. And this was the abuse that she felt in the beginning. It just shows her with like her, you know, her closet and all her items, and she's stressed out, and it's like, okay, your life's not that hard, you know? Yeah. But then it goes into her story, and that's when you're like, oh shit, like homegirl has gone through some stuff that has. And they show like her, that to me too, there's a part with her and her boyfriend at the time. Like, she's about to perform at Tomorrowland and gets in a fight with her boyfriend, like in the moment. And they show it, like they show, and that's like wild, because she's like, there, like, can you just support me? Can you just be there? And you're like, damn, like we've all been that girl, or we've all seen that girl. We've all been friends with that girl. That's like, oh, you know, like leave him, like whatever. And that, my heart right there was like, damn, like, here she is at one of the biggest moments that she's in her life, and she's about to play Tomorrowland stage to tens of thousands of people, and she's got a guy there. So it was just, like you said, there's those experiences, and people forget that, yes, celebrities, they are people. But we just glamorize, like anything. We tend to glamorize people, or you see the highlight reel, they don't show you that other side of them. So it's like, when you do see that side, you're like, wow, they are people. And I can't even imagine like in the Burning Man space, like seeing them, you know.
Cool. Because I know how much I love it, and I know how much it's changed my life in the way that I feel about a sunrise. I can only imagine like having this life that's go, 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 go. People are needing so much from you all the time. And you can go to this place where it's not so much about what people need from you. It's more about, what do you need from this experience? What do you want to go see and do? And I'm sure, she gets approached at Burning Man, but I'm sure it's significantly less than in the default world, where it's taking from her constantly.
And I'm sure there's people too, like what you're saying, like I'm talking to you about Burning Man. I'm sure people, when they're first going, like you kind of essentially know what you're going for. You know, essentially you're going to unplug, you're going to do these things. So that's not a shock, I think, to anyone. It's just like-minded people. And I feel like anybody in this world too, like, speaking of like-minded, there's just everything in, like, from all the different festivals and the raves that you've been to, and, you know, Holy Ship, I know, was like one that you did. Like, that's another one where I feel like that's like all like-minded people that you're around, and you're all there to just have this amazing time and unplug. And it's like, if you're that person that is at something like a Burning Man or a Coachella or Holy Ship, and you're upset about something, I'm like, it's time to like
assess what's going on with that, really. Like, let's dig into that.
Sit with that, because you're around a bunch of happy people around music, and it's like your chance to, I know for me, that's what music does for me. Music is my escape, and it involves all the different senses, and I don't have to think. I'm a big thinker. I'm always either overthinking, and it's really weird too. Like, I sleep the best anywhere but my own house. I know it sounds sad, but like someone's like, oh, I feel bad for you. But it's like, I'm able to not think about what I have to do the next day. I'm like, it's my chance to just unplug. And it's kind of the same thing with music. And I love that. So have you had a chance to go to any music recently? Or no, didn't you go to a Park and Rave?
We did Test Pilot.
Oh, you did Test Pilot.
And Rave.
Whoa. How was that?
So dope.
Where was that?
It's literally at the NOS Event Center, which is where they hold like Nocturnal and Escape and like all of the big raves, but it was in the parking lot.
Oh, wow. So also Test Pilot is deadmau5's alter ego, which is his techno alias that he has. So I saw Test Pilot at Seismic, which you have to get down here for. It's incredible. Yes. But yeah, so that's where, tell us more.
It was crazy. So I didn't know what to expect. I have been kind of strict on the social distancing, I've been strict on the social distancing. I have my quarantine pod and I haven't seen friends that I love because of that. But we got together, my little quarantine pod, and we were like, let's go to Test Pilot for Waylon's birthday. And we weren't, no clue what to expect. We like bought our ticket. We got the front row, the pink row. And we're like, all right, we're driving in. And literally, it's the easiest thing. They have it set up and executed beautifully. I'm so impressed. I felt so safe coming from someone who's having a little bit of social anxiety, thinking about integrating myself back into a festival. That was a dream. And it was like VIP for everyone. Oh, you want to order a drink? You want to order food? Put it on your phone, pay for it. They'll bring it to you. And the music, the sound, everything was great. I was like, if this is the future for a little bit, I'm okay with it. Right. Like, I'm getting old.
That's
I'm tired. Yes. If I don't have to walk 16 miles a night at EDC Las Vegas trying to get across the Rainbow Road, like I'm having a hard time. I'm like getting around real slow.
Yeah, no, I felt the same exact way. Like my very first one that I went to was the drive. I was like, we were in like VIP front row. It was like, wow, okay, I can sit down if I want to. Like I can rest my feet. I don't have to go and get my drinks and food. I can stay here the whole time and watch the music. And
line for drinks.
Yeah,
There's no hour
lines.
bar line. I'm sorry.
You don't have to worry about random people coming up to you. I mean, not.
No.
It's kind of nice.
We've all been at the rave when there's someone who's a little too lit and they're doing some sort of like creepy, they don't
get a little sad
thing, and I'm like, I'm not here for it tonight, friend. Like another night, maybe we can chat. I'm not here for it tonight. Yeah, no, there's none of that because you're in your little square.
Yep.
And you're like raving to the music. Yep. And your friends are everywhere and you're eating a lotte because there was a lotte at this. I'm like, fine.
Oh, I love a lotte.
Me too. And I was like, $8 for a lotte? Sign me up. I have not been out in a while. One more round, sir.
They're just giving it away at this point. It's
the
perfect.
Drinks are triggering. The drinks are like Long Island, Red Bull vodka,
Ooh.
AMF. No, thank you. No, thank you. Taylor was drinking them, and he was like, at the end of the night, my boyfriend, he was like, no, I can't do this anymore. And I was like, yeah, buddy, well, you're the one drinking AMFs like you're 21, so I don't know what
AMF?
to tell you.
Wait, what is an AMF?
Oh, it's an adios motherfucker. So it's basically a Long Island with blue curacao.
Is that a thing in like LA? I've never heard of that.
Well, be happy you haven't, because it's trash. And sorry if anyone likes AMF, but I'm just triggered. Being a bartender, it's triggered. If someone orders an AMF, I go, sweetie, we're gonna take you to church right now, and you're no longer gonna drink this. Let me tell you something. It's just like sugar and like 4 different liquors. It's not good.
I've never heard of this. That'll be interesting. I've never heard of an AMF.
Well, maybe next time you go out to like a divey kind of bar, be like, do you guys have an AMF? And they'll be like, are you sure?
I'll do it just for their face, just to see their reaction.
Send me a picture.
I will.
If you get one. You'll be like, I'm triggered.
I had no idea. So your boyfriend was drinking a bunch of the AMFs. Was like, no, done.
Him and Waylon. And I was like, y'all are making a mistake.
That's the thing too. I like don't have time for hangovers anymore. I hate like they last way too long. New Year's Eve was a little too lit. So I don't know how, so y'all are still pretty much like in lockdown, right?
This is my rave here. This is it.
Yeah. So like Austin's open. Like we're having shows, but I mean, friends are like left and right. And we went to my first show, which you'll appreciate this. And I thought of you, and I think I even sent it to you, but was Gorgon City. And being able to send it to me. Yes. So that's one of her like faves. And so I hadn't seen them live. I'd only saw them at Seismic, but this was like, I went with the Red Bull people and they had a table like front and center, but it was all socially distanced, table, but it was, so I had a little bit too much Red Bull vodka and I kept calling them Gorgon Town because there's only one of them.
There she is. You've now arrived in Gorgon Town.
I was like, oh, Gorgon City. There's only one of y'all, Gorgon Town.
I love
But
it.
they were still great. I mean, he was still great, you know, but just being back at a show was like, oh my God, it just felt so good to like feel that. I was speechless too. I just kept telling, I don't think I've reached my max of saying thank you to like my friends that invited me. Cause I was like, thank you. This is like, cause you need that. It was just like recharging a battery and refilling a cup. And you're like, wow, like I didn't realize I was this starved for music when that's your life.
It's emotional. I'm already thinking about stepping into a festival or a show for the first time because the drive-in was its own thing.
Right.
But because of COVID, you're wearing, you know, I knew it feels good. It feels so special, but I know already that I'm going to cry so hard. And I already cry every time I see music. I'm just like there.
That's so great to be that present. Yeah.
It really, thinking about that is keeping me going through this whole thing because I'm like, I know exactly how that moment's going to feel. I can't wait to cry.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Just people moving. Yeah. That's been the hardest thing. Yeah.
We need it. Like there's so much going on and it's overwhelming. And we've been on like technology overload for a year and some change now. Like we need to unplug. We need to feel the energy, the feeling of the bass. Like it's going to be a spiritual experience. I already know.
I agree with you. That's just because, like you said, even with everything being socially distanced, we saw Deadmau5 2 weeks, but he was like proper Deadmau5. But that was the pod show, which was not like the drive-in. So I was really curious. Like half the stuff I do, I feel like I have to just go just to check it out, you know. And so seeing the pod show, that was literally like the safest too. I was like, it was 8 feet by 8 feet. And then everyone was 8 feet apart and you had your own space with your friends. You bring your lawn chairs. The only time you left was to go get drinks. But like, it was just like having your own square at a music festival, but it was freezing cold that night, but it was just so nice. It was like, wow, like you just forget like how much you need the music and how much but there's that experience though too of like you said when you're at festivals and you're able to connect. And I hate even now because I'm sure people want to come to you and I'm sure, you know, they see you and I feel bad too. Like I forget too that my platform we're doing these things during quarantine. And I know you took some time off. So I'm going to talk about that.
Yeah.
But I kept going, but I was just trying to pivot and do what I need to do. And we were all kind of doing what we need to do, but you forget that people are still following your life. Even though you're stuck at home, they're still watching. And then when they see you, they want to talk to you. And I'm like, oh, this is just like not trying to be ugly. You know, one guy was kind of ugly to me but I was like, I'm not, he's like, oh, you're like too good to talk to me. I was like, no. It's just, I don't want to talk to you because
we're in a pandemic
and I don't know where you've been, but like same kind of thing. I have my quarantine pod. But with that being said, I know, like I said, I kind of kept going with it, but you took like a pretty hard social media break in April. What was there like a specific event that you were just like, I can't do this anymore? Or what happened to kind of like?
I had to go. Like you know, the pandemic hit and I had so many plans for this year, like everyone, you know, finally getting out of debt. Just a big one for me centered around my work and things were really picking up at the bar and I was planning on getting out of the bar and moving into production. And I had things that I was like committed 2020 to be. And the pandemic hit, service industry is destroyed. You know, productions aren't happening. And I'm like, I'm frozen. I wasn't in therapy yet. And I just was so lost. And I not only was feeling lost in my own self, I was feeling lost in what I wanted to share. Because all of a sudden, all this doubt crept up. And I was like, nothing I have to say is valuable. Oh. It was so intense. I was like spiraling in this like thing. You know, I went to this right before quarantine, everything went down. I went to this really inspiring writing course by this guy that I admire, John Romanella. And I was like, so lit. But I was surrounded by people who were years beyond me in every sense of the word. You know, jobs, finances, etc. And I just was like, I'm not good enough to be a good writer. I'm not there. And it was like the self-doubt was closing in on me. And by the time that the pandemic hit, everything was shut down here in LA. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? And what am I going to be doing? I don't know how to preach to anyone right now about having hope and carrying on and pushing through this, because I'm literally swimming in my own personal hell and I couldn't articulate it. I tried to. I was like posting and archiving, and it was like this weird thing that I've never felt before, because I've always felt very at home sharing my feelings and thoughts. And it was scary because I was like, if I don't have this safe space on my own page, what do I have? And so I had to take like 80 steps back. It was like everything was going off with like the social climate and BLM, and like I was just being inundated with all this stuff, and I was like, I don't know how to have a voice right now. And I just had to take like 80 million steps back and completely I deleted the app.
Wow.
I was like, and I'd never done that before. I'd been on Instagram since 2011.
Yeah.
So that, that was part of my everyday. And it was so crazy. And I fell into a little bit of a depression with that, because I don't have my people. I don't have my feedback loop. I had like my quarantine pod, but everyone's going through their shit. And so it's I can't reach out for counseling from all of them every single minute of every single day. It's like they'll be like, Emily, relax. You're gonna be fine. And I'm like having like a crisis, but I started therapy again, which I haven't done since I was like 18, with the same therapist, because she's a bad bitch and I love her.
Wow. That's awesome.
And she just, it was amazing. I mean, I know this is the whole thing, but I was so hard on myself, and I've been so hard on myself my whole life. And to see how mean I was being, to my own thoughts, to my own heartfelt feelings. Ooh, that was when she was kind of explaining that to me and things were starting to click. I was like, okay, girl, like we're doing okay. Like, we don't have to be like that. And I think it was just, I was seeing people's lives were still going. People were still, they were still working, or they were still doing this. And I'm like, my unemployment hasn't gone through. I don't know how the hell I'm going to pay rent. Like, it was manic trying to figure out what I was going to do. Yeah. I had to take a step back.
Yeah. Well, and putting pause, but you just like, I don't think you're definitely not alone. And that was one of those things too. I think with social media too, it is meant to be, it's social. And if that's not, I think everyone did what they had to do in that time. And it wasn't, kudos to you to actually recognize that and not force something or feel like, because a lot of times too, people will use social media as a distraction from the everyday life. And you could have easily done that. You could have easily been like, okay, now I'm going to pretend like I'm not going to sit here with all these emotions and things. And I'm just going to go pour myself into social media and connecting and doing all these different things. But that was a period of growth. And it's, see, and it hurts my heart to hear that, because when you see someone too, and it's like you see a friend and you see someone like, and we all do it to ourselves. And I'm sure your best friend, what's your best friend's name?
Which one you want?
Oh, just give me
no. Mary's the one that's like nursing me back during all of this.
So Mary, yeah. And it's like, you talk to Mary, and I'm sure you would never, like, if Mary was saying those things to her, you'd be like, oh, hold up. So yeah, you'd be like, hold up. Girl.
If you were, I'd be like, girl.
Yeah.
But
it's so hard to do that for ourselves though, too.
Yeah. I couldn't pick myself up, and I was just spiraling, and I was like, I need to get off, because it was heading into distraction mode. And I kept repeating in my head, are you healing, or are you distracted? Are you healing, or are you distracted? And I'm like, oh no, we're not healing at all. Like, I can feel it. I know that I'm on my 8th loop. It's been 2 hours. Like, it's not healthy.
Yeah.
And to put that down and put it away, I think that's the first time in my life that I started taking like a social media cleanse on a Sunday.
Wow.
Where it was like, I for a couple, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn because I did this for like 3 weeks, but 3 weeks in a row, I did no phone on a Sunday, no nothing on a Sunday. I read my Kindle, and I did that, and it felt so good. I haven't done it since last year, but it's, that felt good to separate myself from that phone, because I mean, we went from having Nokias to Razors to Blackberries to everything is in our hand. Mm-hmm. And then we're sucked in. I mean, a notification goes off, we answer. We're like trained in this thing. It's scary.
And there's a science to it. You're conditioned to it. So I actually have two phones. I have my regular everyday, the phone number that everybody has. I don't have. It's not a trap phone, y'all. Like, my other phone. My other phone is my social media phone, but that is also to like, I know I can get distracted very easily, but maybe I do want to just, and I don't have Instagram on my other phone because I want, when I'm working or I'm doing something. So like you said, it's knowing yourself and knowing going in and out of that. But I don't think you were alone. I know everyone was going through their own shit. That was the thing. And that was one of the things I always told my friends, like, I had some friends too, like there's one friend in particular that kind of got upset at me during that time because I had reached out, but I forgot to like text him back, but I was going through something but he apologized later because he's like, I'm sorry, I had just lost my job. I was going through this, going through that. So it was one of those things. I think this is the time where if anybody has learned compassion, especially to just not react to those things. And if you don't text back right away, I'm like, nope, you're good. Like you handle you. I will be here. I will be someone's rock. Other people have been my rock during that time. But yeah, I remembered when you disappeared because I was like, oh my God, I hope she's okay. And yeah. But you weren't, but now like, how would you say, are you on the up and up? Everything's feeling better, feeling good?
We're feeling good. And it's to piggyback on what you were saying, like, you're so right. It's like, I was taking things so personally when people were not getting back to me. And it's like, we have to extend compassion and grace to every single person in our life right now, because it's like this entire shit show of things has traumatized a lot of us in ways that we probably don't even realize and will not realize until later.
Right.
But I feel lucky to have been able to reconnect with my therapist, that was an option. I was able to really sit and work on my self-talk. And I didn't realize how negative it had gotten over the years. And I mean, social media is a big part of that. I was playing the comparison game in the back of my head. If this post did not engage, if it didn't get this many likes, I mean, to separate yourself from what you think people want you to be. That's like what I'm working on this year. And I think that I have this idea of what I want my brand to be, what I want myself to be, what I want myself to feel when I show up on social media. And when I took the break, I was so far from that. I mean, I told Taylor yesterday when I saw him, I was like, you know what? I feel like for the first time in a long time, I'm finally having fun on Instagram again. It feels like it used to. It feels like I'm sharing whatever the hell I want, and I'm not worried about the fact that my cycling post is getting like 300 likes. The ratio is fucked. Like it's so not important. Like, but I'm just so happy to be in that headspace again, where this feels like it's an extension of me. It's not a chore. It's not a job. I don't feel like I'm being suffocated by my need to show up and provide. Like, I can show up in any form, whether it be a cycling post or it's my butt in spandex, whatever it is. And like, I'm happy with either one and whatever engagement it gets. It's so many people are stuck in this cycle of like, what is my worth based on my follower count? It's the social conditioning that we've put ourselves in. Frida, stop scratching at the door, miss thing. and I'm happy to be on the other side of it. I'm happy to be feeling good with the fact that I can post whatever I want, and it doesn't matter how it does. Because that in April was paralyzing me, and I would type things, feelings, emotions, things are coming out of me, and I'm typing them, and I go back and read it, and I'm like, this is shit. I would hate for anyone to talk to me like that. So why am I sitting here, putting myself down in such a way? We are moving through that, and it still creeps up, but it's moving. It's that energy moves. It sits for a minute and then it moves.
That's good. As long as you can like sit with it. So, oh my goodness, a lot there, but it got a lot of great things. I think even with what you're saying about the biggest takeaway of like being able to post for yourself, not post for likes, not post for certain things. And a lot of those things too are out of our control. So I'm always like learning, and now I do like social media for my job, not just like my account is not supporting me, y'all, but I have managed other people's socials and do consulting and stuff like that. But you learn that a lot of it, I mean, there's just tips and tricks, and it has nothing to do with, you know, the certain, like you said, if I post yourself, you post yourself on a bike, or you post yourself, there's just all these nuances to social media now. And it's like, you've just not going to get life coachy on you because I'm a life coach, but
no, I'm here for it. I want it.
I was just going to say that you,
yes,
and this is also just from watching you throughout the years, from truly the outside, on the outside in. And it's like, people love you for you. And they've always just loved you for you. If that's you on a bike, if that's you hiking, if that's you with your boyfriend, like, people have always loved and connected. And the reason people spent $12,000 in a GoFundMe for you is because they love you. So it's like, always remember that, because your core of like their core of who you are is who you are. And you don't have to be anyone for anybody. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants you to be like, what do they want to see? You know, like, what does she want? We want to see what you want to show. So just remember that, like, when you're going throughout your day and you're doing these different things, like, just be you, because that's who people fell in love with 7 years ago. And that's who they continue to want to see and support. And just like, please, 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 please don't ever like lose you, because that's when you'll start to lose people, is when you're not being true to yourself, because that's what everybody loves. That's what I love. That's what I know your thousands and tens of thousands of followers love, is just you being you. And it's been so amazing having you here. But what are you most excited about that's coming up for you?
Oh, you mean in my quarantine life?
Your quarantine life, or whatever it is. If it's just where you are right now, like.
I'm excited to continue riding the bike, continue roller skating, continuing like all of my self-care practices that like I've been trying to stick with, even when my mind is like, hey, sit and watch Bridgerton for the 8th time. We're not going to go there.
Oh my God.
We're not, but I'm trying to like, I've always been so focused on working, doing this, doing that, next thing, and having all of this alone time to read, to think, to write, to spend falling on my ass roller skating. I'm like, I'm learning to love my own company again. Because I feel like, I mean, you probably feel it. We're social butterflies. We thrive in that environment. We love it. And it came to a point where I realized, I was like, I don't like to be alone. And that's not a good place to be, because at the end of the day, this is it.
Yeah.
Like, I've got Frida, but she doesn't say much. And like, this is it. Like, so this year I'm just excited to hopefully see some music in the fall. Hopefully.
Yes, big.
And then just, California is a rough time out here. But just keep my self-care practices going. Keep reminding myself, like what she said, that like, there are people who are there because they genuinely care. And I don't have to put on a facade and do this whole song and dance. They're going to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
And people understand what's going on in the world too. Like, that was the part for me. Like, I mean, my whole brain was built on concerts, and then concerts are gone. So it was like,
literally,
now
like,
what do I do? Let's talk about live streams. You know, it was just what, yeah.
But you pivoted. You did. You amaze me.
What?
Amaze me. You amaze me, because not only have I've watched you grow this brand in a matter of years since we connected at Coachella. Like, you've done the things, and you've really found a way to market yourself where I'm like, yes, that's the girl that I met at Coachella. There's never a single second where I feel like you're not being exactly who you are.
Oh, thank you.
When you're like, hey, check out this rum at the festival and my outfit, and I'm looking lit. What's up? And I'm like, that's my bitch. That's what she's doing. Like, yes. I get so stoked. You're crushing it.
Oh, thank you. That means so much coming from you. It really does.
You pivoted your entire thing to be something that works, that feels authentic, that is literally you in the middle of a global pandemic, when yes, your whole feed was, I'm going to shows. Let me take you with me on this show. Mm-hmm. And I had to get off Instagram and do my own pivot in private. You were like, I'm pivoting for the world to see. And you crushed it.
Well, you were an inspiration and all that, of showing up authentically. I shared that I had COVID, like back when it was, I'm like, here you go. I caught it, here's the process, and feeling that judgment, and then Black Lives Matter. So I think, like you said, you did the right thing for yourself. And so I would never regret that of doing what you had to do for yourself. I sometimes wonder like if I should have taken a break during that time, but you know, people, that is too, like we're here in Texas, especially Texas. Texas is so open right now and not sure, like we're in stage 5 here in Austin, which is like, we're back to, I mean, we're supposed to be, but the governor is the one. There's this whole, it's like watching a soap opera between the governor and the mayor.
At least some of them are like, open up, because we're over here. Gavin Newsom's like, I'm going to go have dinner and do my thing, but y'all can't have any dinner. And we're like, well, what about our unemployment? He's like, none of that too.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, it's you found a way to pivot, and I'm so glad that you did what you did, because when I got back on, I was like, God, give me something to catch up on, because I need to know that there's things going on. And I was like looking at your whole thing. I was like, oh, my girl, she did it. She did it.
I'm trying.
You're doing a great job. I love it.
Thank you. Well, I was so excited. You were the first person, like I reached out to you and I was like, she's back. Oh my God. And I started this podcast, YouTube show. I was like immediately like, will you be a guest sometime? You know, because there's just certain people, it's like that I just, again, you've been such an influence for me and for many people. So I'm excited for other people to see this and just see all the beautiful energy that's just radiating from you. And it's just so great. So I'm glad to see you in a better place. And if you aren't, you know, if we fall down, we get back up, and you've been doing it. And people are going to be there to lift you up always. So just know that too. Like your whole audience is there. Regardless of anything that you're feeling, like people are there. So thank you for everything. All the inspiration that you've given me, all the other people out there. Can't wait to see you at some show, sometime, somewhere. It's going to happen. You know, we have that to look forward to, and we'll have that moment.
Oh, we're going to cry when I see you.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to cry hard. I'm ready. I'm ready.
So how can people find you to follow you and see all the fun stuff that you're doing now with your biking and roller skating? And then y'all scroll through. I dare someone to scroll through those 3,000 posts.
Come on the journey. You like Burning Man? Well, if you don't, you will now. I'm on Instagram at Emily the Funk, one word.
Got it.
And that's mainly where I am.
Yeah. So y'all can connect with her there. We do. Love it. Excited for you to share. I'll share this. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll do this again sometime when things are opening back up and we connect. So thank you so much. Tell Frida I said hello. Lots of kisses.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.